If you made it through without feeling anything, congratulations, you are a monster. Ugh, as if it wasn't already as bleak and dreary here in the UK. Despite the sunshine, things still kind of feel a bit hopeless here. Thankfully this year we get another helping of Ethel Cain. A pleasant surprise nonetheless, although I'm not so sure how much my feelings and heart can take. Willoughby Tucker, I'll Always Love You, the follow-up to Perverts, released earlier this year, running at around 1 hour 13 minutes and 10 tracks only. And I think by the end of this album, even I'm starting to fall for this walking red flag Willoughby. Coming back to Perverts though, something I'd describe more as a sound design sort of ambient album, which has the atmosphere tell the story rather than this melancholic poetry we often hear from Ethel. But here on this new album we get a mixture of the two, but does it work as well? Yes, it does. Admittedly, I kind of prefer Ethel Cain when we get her lyrics alongside this sort of hauntingly beautiful music. And that's kind of what this album is. It feels like a mixture of Perverts and A Preacher's Daughter, which makes for this weird uplifting sombra. There's so much pain going on in this album, but it's these tiny little glimmers of hope in the music that make this a bearable listen without bursting out into tears. The whole world of Ethel Cain is filled with these characters, and whether or not they're based on people in the real world, I can't say. But when you write them so well and give them so much emotion, it doesn't really matter, because those feelings are there and they've definitely been felt by someone. And one of those characters we see in the first song is Janie. There's some real feelings of jealousy and fear as Janie finds her first boyfriend, leaving Ethel kind of wondering, is this the end of our relationship? I know she's your girl now, but she was my girl first. I can see the end of the beginning in everything, and in it you don't want me. A situation I think that is quite prevalent in all childhood relationships and things we probably all had to deal with at some point. It's that ability to make a real connection with Ethel's music that I think is kind of skillful, and all of this sits above a sea of guitars which has a dream-like quality, especially drenched in that reverb, and it occupies this whole space below Ethel's vocals, which brings us to the album's first instrumental track, Willoughby's Theme, which is essentially like a theme song for the character like you get in games or in TV shows, highlighting the feeling of falling in love, the highs of the beginning, slowly getting darker and darker, seeing them as maybe not so perfect at the end. I will say some of the instrumentals do drag on a little bit, and whilst I don't mind it, they are a little long for my taste. From here though, we're introduced to something a little more light-hearted, surprisingly. Well, in terms of music anyway. We get this real synthy 80s vibe on with Fuck Me Eyes, and I'm actually quite happy to hear this variation in tone. Whilst it does feel slightly out of place, it does break up that monotony of drones and guitars that we often hear throughout Ethel's sort of discography. But the synth isn't just there sounding lively, it really adds this nice narrative texture to the vocals too. You know, this girl is surface level fine and like upbeat, but deep down there's other stuff going on, which is reflected underneath that synth. You have these sort of grainy guitars going, and the subject itself, I mean, Ethel Cain can just really write this story, and you're there, like you totally believe it. You believe this person is real. And it's about this girl who's known to get around the town, let's say. The girl everyone condemns but secretly wants to be. Life is complicated, but you can't really blame anyone for just trying to live it. Things start to slow down a bit, getting a bit more folky with Nettles. And here we have this 8-minute lyrically dense track. And this track comes and goes fast. Time seems to get lost within these dusty snares, strings, and a barrage of folk instruments. Speaking of losing time, lyrically, suddenly someone's had an accident and is in the hospital. I'm feeling a little bit lost with these lyrics in some parts anyway. Either way, they are still kind of sadly beautiful, right? These insecurities coming through more and more as the track goes on, and this sort of idolization of this relationship that's maybe not happening, I don't know. To love me is to suffer me. Like loving you is a burden. A heavy way to talk about yourself. Another interlude after this with Willoughby's Interlude, and it's not really an interlude, but it should be an interlude. Interlude? Interlude. Like I said, it's kind of similar to Perverts here. The sound design Ethel gives is very grandiose, but it's filled with this like rusty metallic sound, adding to this dark atmosphere. Whilst it's beautiful, it's very ugly and sharp at the same time. Again, could have been a little bit shorter and I wouldn't have missed much. It seems at this point the boy who made Ethel jealous at the start of the album is now with her, I think. Perhaps the friend has moved away from this small town, leaving these two behind. But now the song Nettles makes a little bit more sense. Willoughby was the one who was injured and Ethel has kind of started this relationship with him, so obviously she's there by his side in the hospital. Yeah, dreaming of this romantic relationship with him. But now in the song Dust Bowl, reality maybe isn't so kind. Aptly named because everything has this slow tone, everything feels kind of dusty, like in a desert or something. And it's kind of broken up with these subtle trailer wind chimes. And then in the last half you have these abrupt guitar strums which really add to that frustration. And if we're talking about emotion, the next song on the track, Police. And if we're talking about emotion, the next song, A Knock on the Door, is just kind of the most raw track on this album, I think. Ethel and her guitar, and these really intentional guitar slides from note to note. And it's this contrast between her lyrics and the music that makes you wonder if she's ever been happy at all. To cling on to something no matter what, even if it makes you unhappy. Everything I've loved straight to death. Oh my god. Ethel, you're killing us. And then we come on to something with a little bit of a darker tone with Radio Tower, using this lovely piano sound and absolutely drenching it in reverb, giving it a bit of a distorted reality feel to it, like you're kind of daydreaming and you can hear everything in the background, along with the beeps of the hospital monitor, making it sound like you're in a coma or something. Honestly, this could have been way shorter. It's 5 minutes, just cut it in half. It doesn't take that long to build up the noise. But then this leads seamlessly into the song Tempest, which is a 10-minute long track, and something you'll notice on this album is the tracks are pretty long. Hauntingly gothic and making sense from the last track. It's sung from the perspective of Willoughby, hence the hospital beeps and the surreal sounds. But here we have Ethel leaving him at his darkest point. How can you expect anyone to help you if you can't help yourself? Maybe I'm being a bit too pessimistic with that interpretation, but the song does drag on a little bit. At times it does start to feel crowded and kind of piercing, especially in the latter half of the track anyway. Perhaps that was the point, to make you feel uncomfortable. Which brings us onto the last track of the album, Waco, Texas. A realization that the person you kind of idolized and look up to is just a person. Imperfect and oftentimes disappointing. Again, it's 15 minutes long, but those 15 minutes here feel justified. We hear some familiar sounds and instrumentation, and it's quite a welcome end to what is essentially just a beautiful album. It's somewhat uplifting, even though the message isn't quite as positive. It's that realization setting you free from expectation. Yeah, this album is beautiful and it kind of hurts to listen to. If you made it through without feeling anything, congratulations, you are a monster. Ethel Cain continues to prove she's one of the most compelling storytellers in music today. It's filled with soundscapes, layered characters, and gut-punching emotion, blending that texture of perverts, but then adding the lyricism of a preacher's daughter. At times, the pacing does wander here and there, and a few instruments overstay their welcome a little bit, but not really that much. It's just chock-a-block full of emotion. Ethel has a way of singing about love, hope, despair, and just sadness, but completely draws you into that world, feeling what she's feeling. She makes you inhabit a world you don't want to leave, even if it hurts. So yeah, all in all, I think I would give this album an 8 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you thought of the album down below. Did you cry? Let me know if you want me to do anything in the future, and you know, I'm always happy to hear what you have to say. Sorry that it's been a while since my last upload. I've been struggling with health and work, and like, I genuinely think I'm dying, but we'll see in the future. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me, and until next time, bye.